10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast, episode 134. Hey everybody, welcome back to episode 134 of the 10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast. So glad to have you back. If you are brand new to the show, I want you to know that you can get PDFs to all of our episodes by heading over to 10minutejazzlesson.com and clicking on one of the Patreon links. And over there you can sign up to pledge $3 a month, less than a cup of coffee. I know I say that all the time, but it is true, and you'll have access to all 134 episodes of PDFs. I wanted to say big thanks to everybody that signed up for Patreon this week. We had another great week of a bunch of people coming on board, joining the family. Thank you to Dennis, Aaron, James, Paul, Eric, and Jonas for signing up to be supporters. That means so much to us. It keeps everything at this podcast going. Now, we're almost up to 200 members. So if you're somebody that's been thinking about this for a while, we really want to make that push towards 200 patrons over at Patreon. So go over there, sign up, get all the benefits that come along with it. And I think you'll be happy with your $3 investment every single month. All right, let's get on to today's episode. So today what we're going to be talking about is something that's actually pretty simple when it comes right down to it. What I'm going to give you is an alternative to the blues scale. Now, I think we can all think about the blues scale as something that we used when we first started playing, and so much of the content on this podcast is meant to push us past the blues scale. In fact, we have a whole course called 60 Days to Crushing the Blues that's designed to get you past playing the blues scale. But does that mean that you never want to use the blues scale? I don't think so. If we listen to the great musicians in history, a lot of them still use that blues scale sounding thing very, very often to convey a certain effect and a certain sound. So once you move beyond only being able to use one scale over the blues, that does not mean that you never come back to it. It's a really, really important thing to have up your sleeve. But I think there are some problems with the blues scale, all right? And where the blues scale came from was a minor pentatonic with an added note. We added the flat fifth to the minor pentatonic. So we can't really talk about the blues scale without talking about the minor pentatonic. And this week we're actually going to be focusing on that minor pentatonic and why I think it's not the best device to use when you're either teaching somebody to play over the blues or you're trying to use it yourself. So let's talk about why. Now, I want you to follow me really, really closely on this show because I'm going to be diving kind of deep into the scale. So if you think about a B-flat minor pentatonic scale, it's 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, 1. All right, so in B-flat, that would be B-flat, D-flat, E-flat, F, A-flat, B-flat. And I've written that on this week's PDF. So if you have access to the PDF, make sure you have this in front of you so you can check out what I'm talking about. So the minor pentatonic can sound great if you know what you're doing and you have enough kind of awareness to realize that all of the notes don't work in all of the places. And it's particularly two notes that are potential disasters when it comes to playing with this scale. So let's go up to the third note in the minor pentatonic scale, which is a concert E flat. Now let's think about this for a second. That E flat fits really well over an E flat 7 chord, right? It also fits really well over a C minor 7 chord, but it is a disastrous note to hang out on if you're playing over a B-flat 7 chord. And I think we all know that the B-flat 7 chord, that happens pretty often in the B-flat blues, right? We can all agree with that. Now, here's what it sounds like if you're hanging out on an E-flat over a B-flat 7 chord. So I think we can all agree that that's not the best sound in the world. It's pretty undesirable, playing the 4 over a major chord. not that great to hang out on. Now, the other note that is potentially disastrous is the A flat, because that's the same thing as what we just played, but over an E flat chord, which happens pretty often as well. Now, it also doesn't fit that well over a C minor 7 chord, and it also doesn't fit that well over an F7 chord, to tell you the truth. So this is another note that really should be avoided at all costs, but yet is in this scale. And the thing about this scale is that a lot of people who are inexperienced use it, so they're not sure. They don't know the theory behind why to avoid these notes, and they end up sitting on them for a long, long time, right? And this can result in you're not sure why your solo sounds bad because somebody gave you this scale and said, yeah, you could just simply use this scale over the entire blues and it will work. And it actually deters you from learning how to improvise because you start to associate improvisation with sounding really bad. And that's definitely not something that we want. So in comes the scale that I've kind of made up, I guess. I didn't really make it up. I just kind of altered it. So let's think about the difference between a minor pentatonic scale and a major pentatonic scale. So minor is 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, 1. A major pentatonic scale is 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. That is a major pentatonic. Now, the thing that we're going to change, and the thing that I kind of changed in my scale, which I call the minor major pentatonic scale, because I'm not very creative with names and I couldn't come up with anything better, we're going to take that major pentatonic scale in the key of B flat. So B flat, C, D, F, G, and then you're back up on B flat. And we're simply just going to flat the third, because as we all know, that's what's called the blue note. And the minor third works pretty well over a dominant chord, especially when we're playing the blues, right? Especially over the 1 chord. It works very, very nicely. So we're going to include that note, which is what makes our major pentatonic minor. But now keep up with me here. I might confuse some of you. It's not a minor pentatonic. It's a major pentatonic shape with a minor third included in it. So now what we have are the notes B flat, C, D flat, F, G, and then you're back up on B flat. Now, why is this better? Well, let's think about this scale for a second. Pretty much every note in this scale works over every chord in the blues with only one exception. So a B flat works over a B flat 7, an E flat 7, a C minor 7. It doesn't work over the F7. That's the only place in the entire progression that it does not work, okay? Now let's take a look at the C. So the C works over B flat 7, works over E flat 7, it works over C minor 7, and it works over F7. The D flat definitely works over B flat 7, definitely works over E flat 7. It doesn't work so well over C minor 7, and it doesn't work that well over F7. So there's our other little problem spot. But can you see that they work over the majority of the actual progression? And I think that these trade-offs that we're making are much better than the original minor pentatonic. If you disagree with me, I would love to hear it. I am not obviously stating that this is the best system in the world. It's just something that I've noticed. Let's go up to the F. That works over B flat 7, works over E flat 7, works over C7, and definitely works over F7. What about G? That works over B flat 7, works over E flat 7, works over C minor 7, and it definitely works over F7. So the only two notes that we have any kind of issue with, the B flat, that only happens for 2 measures in the entire blues, and the D flat, that only doesn't work over 3 measures in the entire blues. I think our results are going to be a little bit better if we use this minor major pentatonic as opposed to our traditional minor pentatonic or blues scale that we're traditionally taught. Let me play this scale for you so you can hear what it sounds like. It's kind of a funky sound because it combines something that a lot of us are really familiar with which is a major pentatonic, that shape, but we have that minor third, so it's kind of surprising sounding. Check out what it sounds like. it's kind of a different approach, right? It's not something that I think a lot of us have heard that often, including myself up until a couple months ago, where I really started to figure this stuff out. Now, let me come at this at a different angle. If you don't agree with me at all, you think that the minor pentatonic is fine, I'm okay with that. Like I said, I'm not trying to prove anything about how everybody's been doing it wrong and I'm doing it right. That's not the point of this episode. So at the very least, it gives you another option. It gives you a different sound to go for. And that's something we talk about on the podcast all the time, is we want to have a large selection of sounds. We don't want to sound the same every single time we approach a certain tune or play over the blues or something like that. So like I said, even if you totally disagree with me, it doesn't matter. Think about this scale as a different sound you can use, because they're very, very different notes if you look at them side by side. And that's exactly what I have on the PDF this week, is the two scales side by side and a little bit of an explanation on why I feel passionately about this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close out the podcast by playing a couple of courses over the blues, just using this scale and not using the minor pentatonic. All right. So that you can kind of hear what it sounds like in action, and you can make a decision for yourself on whether you think this is a good scale, a better alternative if you're a teacher to show your students, if you are just getting started with jazz to actually use over the blues, and hear what it's all about. All right, here are the differences between this. An exercise that I suggest you do is play one chorus using the minor pentatonic scale, and then play another chorus only using this minor major pentatonic scale, and see which one agrees with you more. And actually switching back and forth between them could be a really great exercise for you to develop some different sounds in your playing, like I've been saying. All right, so here's a couple choruses over the blues using this. Make sure if you have any questions or comments, if you want to start a discussion about some of the things that I've talked about in this show, email me 10minutejazzlesson@gmail.com, or drop a comment on our Facebook page or in our 10-minute jazz lesson community group on Facebook. That's a great place to start a discussion about this kind of stuff. All right, here we go. I hope you have a great weekend, everybody. Check out these couple of choruses in action and decide what you think about the scale. All right, talk to you soon. Bye.